by him not being an action hero in this one, it made it more vulnerable and more of a personal story of like, what would this father do who's got a terrorist coming after his family for some payback?
Well, for the assassination attempt on Kathy Ryan and their daughter, we actually filmed on the then unfinished Century Freeway in Los Angeles that was substituting for a freeway back east. The difficulty, of course, was to find a freeway that we could own, that we could fill with our own cars, driven by stunt drivers, driven safely. We searched all over the country and discovered that there was a freeway here right on our doorstep in Los Angeles that we could take over for the vital 4 or 5 days. The sequence was extensively storyboarded. It had to be, because you're constantly positioning cars that have got to maintain their positions day after day in a very intricate scene. And storyboarded also, again, because of the safety question.
So you see it all a lot from his point of view, driving through traffic, the cell phone not getting through, and then finally you see this plume of smoke from the crashed car in the distance, and that's his worst horror come true. And it's just made to get inside his head, as opposed to the book was trying to explain the ULA tactics, and Philip Noyce really wanted it to be Jack Ryan's experience, the horror of having your family hurt.
The scene we filmed on the freeway in my Porsche where Thor and I crash was actually exciting and hard to film, because there were like 60 stunt cars. I mean, all those cars on the freeway were all stunt drivers, and there were explosives and gunshots going off, and I had to change lanes and really be driving this stick shift. I was a good stick shift driver, luckily, because I'd always had a stick shift car, but there was quite a bit of maneuvering and things to concentrate on, and they had put an explosion in the back seat of the car that had to go off to shatter the windshield, and I was very nervous about it.
In some ways, it was a thankless part, because Anne Archer had to be reactive rather than active. In both Patriot games and later in Clear and Present Danger, her role involved having something done to her rather than her doing something. I think her major piece of action in Patriot games was the scene where finally she gives Jack Ryan license to go get them.
Don't ever get that close to us again, honey. That's why he's making calls in the middle of the night. That's all we can do.
You get him, Jack. I don't care what you have to do. Just get him. I think what intrigued me about the character was that Harrison Ford was playing the part. You know, it was going to be a big, important movie, wide audience, internationally seen, and that was very valuable for me. It was a part I could obviously play and play well, and I think that Harrison and I were a very good match for each other. I mean, you really believed that we were husband and wife. I was perfect for the role. It was really his decision whether he liked me or not. I knew it was going to be fine with him. I'd seen him on film a million times. I knew that he was an actor that I would work well with and relate to, just because, I don't know, I just had an instinct about that. And he's a very nice guy, you know. He's really a good guy.
SAS can take out any one of these camps in under 2 minutes. Kill everybody there and be gone before the echo fades. Are you sure this is the same woman? Keep at it then.
James L. Jones, who played the part of Admiral Greer, Jack Ryan's mentor, was inherited by me from the first film, from The Hunt for Red October, where he played the same role so well. He is possibly the greatest actor I've ever worked with. He is a fine violin and a fine violin player. By that I mean that he understands the instrument, that is his body and his voice, just so well.
Every time he plays a role, he shades it. As Harrison used to say, every scene is an adventure with James because it gives you something new in that big, handsome body of his.
I guess they wanted a guy who could achieve the character with very little. That is, very little background and very little dialogue. I think I may have had 24 lines in the whole movie, you know. And that stayed consistent when it's decided to maybe enlarge Greer character in Patriot games. It didn't work. The more you knew about Greer, the less you liked him, the less